6 people were murdered on a remote farm in Bavaria, but the killer did not run. He stayed. He fed their cattle. He cooked their food. He slept in their beds. For 4 days, he lived among the bodies of the people he had just killed, and nobody noticed. Not a single neighbor, not a single person, for 4 days. This is the Hinterkaifeck mystery, and after 100 years, nobody knows who did it. The Hinterkaifeck farm sits in the Bavarian countryside of Germany, remote, isolated, surrounded by dense forest on all sides. In 1922, it was home to 6 people. Andreas Gruber, 63 years old. His wife, Kazilia, 72 years old. Their widowed daughter, Victoria, 35 years old. Her daughter, also named Kazilia, just 7 years old. Her son, Joseph, only 2 years old. And the family's brand new maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had arrived at the farm just hours before she was killed. 6 lives, all ended on the same night. But what makes Hinterkaifeck different from every other murder case in history is not just how they died. It is everything that happened before and everything that happened after. The first warning came weeks before the murders. Andreas Gruber pulled his neighbors aside one day and told them something that should have set off every alarm. He had been finding footprints in the snow, leading from the dark forest to his farm, but never leading back. Someone had been walking to the Hinterkaifeck farm and not leaving. Andreas also found a strange newspaper near the property, one that nobody in the family had purchased. A set of house keys had gone missing, keys that would give someone access to every room, and the family's previous maid had quit months earlier. She refused to say exactly why, but she told people she had been too frightened to stay, that she had heard strange sounds at night, coming from the attic above her head. Andreas Gruber told his neighbors all of this, and then dismissed it. He was a practical man, a farmer. He did not believe in ghosts, but here is the detail that has haunted investigators for a century. The footprints, the missing keys, the noises in the attic. They suggest one thing. The killer was already there, living above the family, watching them eat their meals, watching them put their children to bed, watching and waiting for weeks, possibly months, before he made his move. But wait, because what investigators discovered when they finally arrived at the farm was something nobody had prepared for. April 4th, 1922, 4 days after the murders. Neighbors finally noticed something wrong at the Hinterkaifeck farm. The mail had piled up uncollected. The children had not appeared at school. Nobody had been seen for days. A group of concerned neighbors walked to the farm to check. From a distance, everything looked normal. The smoke was rising from the chimney. The farm appeared lived in, warm, active. But as they stepped closer, the silence told them something was deeply wrong. They searched the house. Empty. They searched the yard. Nothing. And then one of them opened the barn door. Beneath a pile of hay were the bodies of Andreas Gruber, his wife Kazilia, their daughter Victoria, and 7-year-old little Kazilia, all struck in the skull, all killed with a heavy farming tool. The killer had lured each family member into the barn, one by one, in the darkness, and killed them one by one, without a single scream being heard, without a single neighbor noticing. But that was not the worst of it. Back inside the house, in a bedroom, investigators found the bodies of 2-year-old Joseph and the new maid Maria, who had only arrived that morning. 6 victims, all killed with precision, all struck in the skull. No signs of struggle, no witnesses, no screaming, as if they had simply ceased to exist. And then investigators made the discovery that changed everything. As they examined the farm more carefully, the horror began to deepen. The cattle had been fed every single day for 4 days after the murders. Fresh food had been cooked in the kitchen. The fire had been kept burning. Someone had been sleeping in the beds. The killer, after murdering 6 people in cold blood, had simply continued living in their home, feeding their animals, eating their food, keeping warm by their fire for 4 days, as if the bodies beneath the hay in the barn did not exist. And then investigators went to the attic. What they found there made even the most experienced officers step back. Evidence of long-term habitation. Someone had been living in the Hinterkaifeck attic, not for days, not for weeks, for months. The footprints Andreas had seen in the snow, the strange newspaper, the missing keys, the terrified maid who fled in the night. It all pointed to one conclusion that investigators struggled to accept. The killer had been living above the Gruber family for months before he decided it was time. But investigators had no idea that the most disturbing detail of the entire case was still waiting to be discovered. 7-year-old Kazilia Gruber, when forensic investigators examined the young girl's body in the barn, they found something that stopped them cold. Kazilia had not died immediately after being struck. She had survived the initial attack, injured, alone, in complete darkness, in the barn, surrounded by the bodies of her mother, her grandparents, her little cousin. She had been there for hours, possibly until the early hours of the morning, and during those hours, as she lay dying in the darkness, unable to call for help, she had pulled large clumps of her own hair from her head, clump after clump, scattered across the barn floor. She could hear the killer above her, moving through her family's house, cooking their food, going through their belongings. A 7-year-old child dying in a barn full of bodies, pulling out her own hair in terror and pain, while her killer went about his evening as if nothing had happened. It is the detail that historians cannot move past. The detail that makes this not just a murder mystery, but one of the most heartbreaking stories in criminal history. So who was in that attic? Over 100 suspects were interviewed. Neighbors, relatives, traveling workers, anyone who could have had access to the farm. And the investigation produced almost nothing. The first theory. Some investigators believe the killer was someone the family trusted, someone they would follow into a dark barn, without fear, without hesitation, one by one. The absence of any struggle, the silence of the murders, suggests the victims did not see the danger coming. The second theory. Victoria Gabriel's husband had been reported killed in World War I, but some investigators believed he may have survived. Returned to Germany, traumatized, unrecognizable, and consumed by something dark enough to make him kill his own children. The third theory. Dark rumors circulated through the village about the Gruber family. Rumors that Andreas Gruber had fathered his own grandson, that little Joseph was not the child of Victoria's deceased husband, but of Victoria's own father. Some investigators believe this secret created an enemy willing to silence everyone who knew it. The fourth theory. The previous maid, the woman who fled in terror months before the murders, who heard noises in the attic, who refused to speak about what frightened her. Some believe she saw something, or someone, and chose to run rather than confront it. She knew who was living in that attic, and she said nothing. In 2007, German cold case investigators reopened the Hinterkaifeck file. They applied modern forensic technology to evidence collected in 1922. They found DNA at the scene, unknown DNA, that matched nobody in any criminal database anywhere in the world. The case was closed again, officially unsolved. The Hinterkaifeck farmhouse was demolished in 1923. The land was cleared. No physical trace remains, but the mystery does. 6 people were killed on a remote Bavarian farm on a cold March night in 1922. The killer lived among their bodies for 4 days, was never identified, was never arrested, and may have walked free for the rest of his natural life, going to sleep each night with a secret that died with him. A 7-year-old girl pulled out her own hair in a dark barn, and nobody came. somewhere out there, the truth exists. But for now, more than a century later, Hinterkaifeck keeps its silence. If this gave you chills, you need to see our next video. Subscribe to Enigmasphere Studio and hit the bell so you never miss what we uncover next.